I'm going to be reviewing the Foundation Digital Media magazine cover project. So I wanted to go over the project sheet very briefly. The final file should be 8 3/8 by 10 3/8. It should be submitted as a JPEG into Portfolio. One of the main goals is to take design cues from the magazine you select and design the cover so it looks just like the next month's version of the magazine. Okay, I've gone over the process here, but some things to remember is I hope you evaluated your photography used on the cover images based on past designs, that you've replicated the style, especially the typography, the size, style, color, and groupings, that the masthead was reproduced well, that it's readable, that the text is, if you found magazines where the text is right justified or left justified, that it is, that you've done that. I had some video tutorials, and so here we go for the critique. I'll just start here. So this one is a Motor Trend. Looks pretty good. A lot of times I should be pulling up other magazines, like magazine covers. Motor Trend mag cover. So as I look at what's going on, here I see one where it says Supra, and then we see a large front view and a medium side view of the car with a blend in the background. I'm also kind of looking, so a lot of these are shot on location, looking at the type and the layout. Motor Trend is always at the top. Sometimes there's a line of type above it. Looks like it's all sans serif. And yeah, I mean, I think it looks pretty good. I think these ought to be removed so we can see the image through those counters, is what they're called. So yeah, a little dark. I don't really see an image in here that is that dark. It seems like I mean, that's still a pretty light image. So nothing like super moody in here and difficult to see what's going on. Where this one feels a little bit, it's not bad. Okay, it's not bad. I think it fits the magazine pretty darn well, and I think I'm okay with that. So nice job. This one seems like it's the figure is a little small. Just generally, figures should fill up the page pretty well. And I probably should have mentioned this, but I'm going to ask that for all the assignments that the assignments be kept in like a PG-13 type format, so, or G even, right? So anyway, I'm not going to pull up other issues. I just think your figure is small, and I'm not sure if this type fits with existing covers. Probably does, but I know the figure is like half the size it should be. Okay. Let's take a look. Yeah, this looks pretty good. It gets a little hard to read right here. And this, I like the image a lot. It feels like the deer down here is very close to the edge of the magazine and makes us, you know, we go leisure travel and then we see the deer and we almost go off the page. Let's look at some. These are leisure travel magazine covers, so we definitely have a very simple photograph kind of featuring a location. And so if we were to look at this, we have a sans serif masthead, and then this is a serif, the secret Caribbean. And as I look around, these are serif. Here's a sans serif. This is a big mix of sans serif, serif, and a lot of sans serif. They're grouped really nicely on this cover. Some sans serif. Sans serif along with a really nice photo and some serif. So I guess I think there is some validation for having sans serif on here. Just generally in a picture, you don't want to have one of your main focal points, which I think this is a big one because we have the darkest dark and the lightest light right next to each other. It's very different from anything else on this line, and it's almost the bottom of the page. So that's something to watch out for. Try to keep people's eye on the page. Okay. Fine cooking, really nice photo. I think it's legible as far as the colors against the background. I'm just going to look up fine cooking magazine covers. And yeah, some of them are kind of dark. They seem to, whoever did this seems to have captured the magazine pretty well. Yeah, good one. Okay, so we'll go to the next. Here's an ESPN cover. I am a little concerned about this gradient yellow to purple. I'm not sure. I know that's Laker colors, but that really looks a little crazy. Those colors together, they're opposites of the color wheel. They're complementary. And with this red, it just kind of looks a little circusy. And looking at these ESPN covers, I don't see, here's one, LeBron, and the gradient is very subdued as far as color. The coloring of his suit and skin is very subdued, but we have some poppy colors that really are striking on the type. So it contrasts kind of nicely. I mean, this blue and this blue, it almost looks like, why did we choose that? But because this type is so bright, so far I'm seeing really bright type, subtle photos. Yeah, somewhat like blues and whites, so it's really subtle photos. And we have a gold ball, gold type, and I guess the skin is similar in the same tone. It just seems like the photos are pretty simple, and my concern is that the background of this is just way too strong. I'm also looking at how these are grouped and the size of them. It looks like this quote, this type is all kind of the same size, and then this type and this type are very similar. So as I let's look at this other cover here. So here we have one big type, one large type, and then it's grouped together, but these are smaller. And this Missing College, the game that changed, is at the same size as You Should Know About Duke for golfers. Okay, so we have two groups here. I know this one's a little bit more, but you need to know about type, and No More Smoke and Mirrors is the same size. So we have it in kind of, and the plus, and then the final four. We kind of have specific layers and characteristics of type. So there's a small one, which is here. There's a middle-sized one, which is plus in the final four, or believe it. And then there's some ones that are larger and kind of stand out. But I would kind of look a little closer at the type and make sure that it kind of goes together a bit more than this one. Okay. So it's called hierarchy. Hierarchy is like where your eye goes first, second, third. And right now our eye goes to the face, to the ESPN, maybe the Lakers, but then we also should have hierarchy in the type. And right now they're all kind of fighting for our attention, which makes us not want to read them. Okay, so that hierarchy is really important. Here our hierarchy is face, ESPN, maybe Boston. And then as far as the type, we have Mission Impossible, No More's Red Sox Win It All, and then this little type here, and then down here. If I go to another cover, Fun and One, maybe College Hoops Preview after we get through the images. And then it's basically, this is all the same, but it's in a really able to group and hang. It's grouped together, okay, which is an important feature and important for readability. Okay, so we'll look at SLAM. And so here we have some good first ring Anthony Davis. So we have some hierarchy in the type, which is helpful. Subtle background. Yeah, I think this is working good. I think we should probably track these together a little bit more. Meaning, I'm sorry, bring our leading together a bit, which is the term for the space in between lines. So if I were to look at this, see how close these are. We can even go to here. These are very close, and they help group the type together. Look at the space between Allen and Iverson, really small. Sol between on ice, very small spacing as far as the leading, the vertical distance. Same here, really narrow leading. So that's what I'm going to suggest on this one, is tighten up that leading. And I would kind of, when I squint, it's hard to read this T against the yellow. It's not bad. I mean, maybe a drop shadow would help on it a little bit, but those are my suggestions on that. Okay, so Vogue cover. So a few things about Vogue is, I'm just kind of, I think the photo is actually working pretty good. And we have some large, medium, and small for the type. I would probably, again, with just like the previous one, lead this together a little bit, reduce the vertical spacing on here so these sit together a little better here and here. Good, you've kept away from the face. It gets a little bit tight right here and also right here. These could be considered tangents. It's just where shapes meet, make these really close meetings. Like this, how the word bolt goes over the arm. Over the arm itself is not a tangent, but maybe where the D meets the edge of the shirt could be a tangent. And maybe where the W meets the edge of the shirt. So those type of things where they make your eye go to them because they're so close. So the rule is kind of keep it, like on this last name, keep it well into the word or keep it well away, like I still away from the shirt. if that makes sense. I'm not a big fan about the hands getting cut off. Usually, well, I see it in here, but both hands. Anyway, careful about that, like cutting them off at joints or at fingers. But all in all, nice job cutting this out. Everything, I'm gonna say generally looks pretty darn good. We'll look at another Vogue magazine. Uh-oh, it's kind of large. Okay, the masthead looks pretty good, a little bit wonky right here. I like the really nice job cutting this out. You can see the hair even. So good job. I'm not sure about this type right here. I don't think Vogue uses that particular type. And I'm going to go look at this, and I know we're on our own computer, so we're somewhat limited. But here we have a really blocky all-cap sans serif. And then here's a very light serif. Well, it's a light plus strong bolds, which is real similar to the masthead. Very light with strong bolds. So I'm not really seeing that particular all cap happening in here. And since we're supposed to be looking at past magazines to help it as a style guide, I think I would probably suggest changing that type here. Plus, it's probably let it out a little too much, just like the past couple. So bring your tracking or your leading together so they hold together as a group. Again, too much space in between lines here. And this is too tight. It's kind of crushing the letters. They're touching and it makes it difficult to read. All in all, a good magazine. I mean, I think you also have the hierarchy going on with the type, which is, good job. One thing I might watch for here is the color of the pure style against the background. When I squint, kind of vanishes. And we don't want that on a magazine. We want it to actually like pop out a little bit. Okay, moving on. And I really do hope you guys are watching all of these critiques, because there's a lot of problems that are addressed that I'm not going to really go into. Like here, leading, it's a leading issue, and also a hierarchy issue of type, which I've explained. Cute photo. I like how this is grouped. I think the masthead is okay. It's just kind of a hierarchy and leading right now. So in other words, hierarchy, we need to have a large, medium, small type. Okay, so here's a Time magazine. Okay, I think this gets a little hard to read around here. So I'm not and see how this is almost hitting the eye. That you really want to stay away from the face on type going over face on magazine covers. Foreheads, okay, but not mouth, not eyes, not nose. And this is getting really too close here. Other than that, pretty good. I feel like it's a lot of type for a Time cover. Usually Time keeps it really simple and very minimalistic for Time magazine covers. I would also look at the hierarchy here and also the typefaces going on, because as we look at other typefaces, we're seeing, other Time magazines, we have, the hierarchy here is really clear. His legacy, the fight for equality, and then some type underneath. And then some small type, so we know where to look first, second, third, fourth. Here's a recent coronavirus, and even though this type is all the same, it's subtle. We read coronavirus, Time, special report, and all of these are separate little issues, right? There's a nod to Ruth Bader, and there's an old Trump issue. So hierarchy, and notice that the type that's used on these covers is it's not a ton of a lot of different typefaces. It's just a couple, but maybe different weights in that family. Okay, so I feel like those would be a few things to work on with that. Vogue. Let's see. Yeah, pretty nice. I like how this matches some of the colors. This is coming together. It holds together. Yeah, really nice. Reads well. Really cool photo. Nice job on this. Okay, so another Vogue. Usually we don't see it behind people's heads. Well, that's not true. I guess we do, but I feel like it's cutting off quite a bit. But it's kind of clever. He's like peeking through, which I'm great with. Yeah, okay. I mean, I think the leading here could be tightened up. And here. And I feel like Vogue does introduce, well, here's a magazine cover that has all sans serif with it, right? A lot of sans serif. They move around the type colors and the weight. Here's like a bold and very light. So I think this needs maybe a little more. And notice, and there may be other covers, but all of these are all capital. Everything's capital on this one. All cap on this one. Let's move down a little bit. This has upper lower. But yeah. Upper, lower, and capital. Okay, well, I do think the leading, and I play around with the weight a little bit if you can. Okay, so we're going to World Soccer. I'm going to look at World Soccer magazine because I'm not terribly familiar with it. Okay, so we do have a big image, usually on the right. Sometimes takes over the whole thing. They use a big image on the right with some smaller images on the left. Very active in shapes. A lot of different shapes going on here. A lot of type. We have a nice hierarchy, large, medium, small, and then very small. Okay. One thing I'm seeing maybe on the other covers that I'm not seeing here is a definite line, like compartmentalizes the stuff on the left. So this line, and then it jogs over and there's another line. Here's a definite line between them. They kind of keep in their own space a little bit. Are you with me? Like keeps in their own space, keeps in their own space, keeps on their own space, where if we look at this one, it kind of goes beyond, beyond, beyond. And I'm looking for this to be cut off right here and have Mbappe have his own area. Okay, that makes sense. It's to have it divided. So yeah, and I think, well, it honestly feels super jam-packed on the left when I look at these other ones. Just like super full, completely jammed, which kind of is the style of the magazine. So as I'm looking at this one, I go, oh, it's a little bit light. I know it looks jam-packed, but looking at the magazine, I feel like it's a little bit light there. And I'm just looking at the colors. We have this bright red, bright yellow, neon green, a kind of a leaf green, and then even a dark green. But then I look in here and I'm looking at the colors. Red, red, blue, blue, black. Red and black. And then we have black, black, red, red. Here they're using more gold, 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 black, black, and then red and black. So it seems like the logo is mostly red and black, and then we have different colors on the type. So they're using gold quite a bit, but I don't, so the brightness of these colors or how much they're all over the place, I would have probably stuck with one. Plus I think the world is the one that's in red versus the soccer. Okay, right? Okay, let's go to the next one. Oh, those are the whole process. We have sketches, PC Gamer. I don't know if this is research or his or hers. I'm guessing this might be theirs because this is really, really thick for a spine. Okay. I like how these are holding together these groups of type. I'm going to just look this up. PC Gamer. And it looks like they've used, you know, figures or illustrations that get larger and larger, a logo of the game, and then some kind of circle and circle device. So as I look in here, we have the circle device happening once, and then twice, and then type all over this. That's really a lot of type with the game logo here. Gosh, so much type on these. I cannot believe it. Yeah, loads of type and bars and trying to give a lot of information and make it kind of exciting. I think one thing I'm missing here is like the hierarchy of type. And if you haven't, if you don't know what that means, I just mentioned it earlier in the video, but it's really about the, you know, making sure that you're helping the reader go from large, medium, small type. I know this is kind of large and kind of medium and kind of small, but when I look at the type here, we have World of Tanks, and then we have some smalls, or some mediums, and then some smalls. I look at Battlefield, really large, some mediums, some smalls. Here I feel like we're kind of missing that a little bit. So we go to Race Engine. Okay, I'm totally unfamiliar with this one, so I'm looking it up. And okay, so there's one one magazine cover. I don't see any others, so I guess I could base my critique on this Race Engine. So as I'm looking these other similar magazines, the engine is usually cut out of the background, so we just see the engine. The floor and the side are a little distracting. We just want to see the engine, so I think a cutout would be a little bit stronger. I don't mind that it's black. I think you've handled the type really well. And I do see this on actually right here. It's kind of a little featured guy or some engine designer or something. And yeah, this looks good. I would just really cut out that engine is my main thing on this. Okay. Here we have Sports Illustrated. Looks really good. These are a little bit leaded out a little bit. They need to be, the spacing between the lines needs to be reduced so we can see, so they group together better. Okay, that's kind of the main thing that we're missing here. It's a nice cover. I feel like when I squint, and squinting is a really good tool to use when you're going, hey, is my, you know, are my values right? What is values? It's light and dark. So as I'm looking at this gray and this masthead color, they're about the same value, lightness or darkness, right? So they kind of, the masthead really kind of vanishes up here. So I'd recommend changing the color of that. It's a good photo. I feel like these are a little bit weak as far as the type that's usually on L covers. So if we were to look at like this one, we have excuse me, a lot of sans serif. We have a really strong bit of type, and then some headlines, and then some lighter details. This one they chose to do a sans serif in all caps. Still, this Best Beauty Guide is stronger than this Nicki Minaj name, so we do have some kind of hierarchy going on. And then they just dealt in two colors and kind of grouped the type really nicely. Where I think we need to probably have a little more type, maybe have bolder names, or bolder, use some bold, I guess, use some weight in it. Okay, go to the next one. Here's motor trend. Okay, I'm going to just look that up. Okay, so that was similar to the last one. Motor trend. Yeah, I feel like the I'm just going to pull this over and then maybe show a few magazine covers here. So I feel like this outline type, it's just not being used in the magazine. If it's hard to read, it's probably the wrong value. So here we have like a lighter value in this background. So we need to either have a white, which this reads well, you don't need an outline on this, or a dark, really like a black or a deep blue or something to read well against this, where these colors are going to read less well, not very well. Here we see some white. I mean, the types colors are very simple, white and black, maybe red. And here we have the blue, the green, the yellow, the white, the red. So I guess we're looking for get rid of outlines, simplify the type. Right now the car's not really sitting on this background. I appreciate the idea of like cutting this out. I think what's missing now is a shadow underneath the car to help it sit on this surface. Okay. Let's make a couple more comments on the type. Like I'm going to look at gosh, we can't even look at this one. So it's not a great example. So I think this, see this hierarchy going on, 203 mph, really large, and then Viper GTS, an exclusive top speed test. Those are, so the 203 mph is the first thing you read on the type. Second is exclusive top speed test, Viper GTS, and then we get into the smaller type here. And here it's a little bit battling. We have Bring Back the Classics, but then these are difficult to read and they're all about the same size, so it makes us not know where to go next. Okay, so we'll go to our next one. And this is complex. I'm going to have to look that up. Okay, so as far as cutting out these counters out of the letters, in Illustrator you would use the Shape Builder tool, and you'd highlight both the O and the inside of the O, and then use the Shape Builder and hold down Alt or Option and click on this middle part. I think I've done that. I could probably do it again. Let me just do a quick example here. Use lorem ipsum. Oh, I see. Okay, so I'm going to trace the O. Actually, no, I'm just going to do a very quick example. So if we have a let's say that's type, and this is what we want to knock out of it. This is like the center of our O. So what you would do is select the middle, hold down Shift, and select the outside. So they're both selected. Then you'd use the Shape Builder tool, which is here, and you'd hold down Option. See how my mouse has a little minus next to it? And that gets rid of it. So that works on all of the counters when you're trying to knock that out. Same thing here. And I know this is really simple type, but I think it works really well. It seems to work decently with the magazine. If you're only going to do this little of type, then I feel like this little peep is further away than the RIP Crybaby from the line. So I feel like this little peep needs to be brought a little closer to this line, because now a lot of attention is on here, and so just distances make a big difference. Okay, let's go to this next one. This is an Allure magazine cover. I'm going to zoom out a little bit so we can see what's going on. Okay, so it's a nice cover image. We just have like a portrait. One thing I think we're missing is usually the person is looking at you, the model, and that's kind of the connection. That, so here we have looking at, and you're right, all these are portraits, which is great. Your Allure masthead doesn't match this Allure at all. My suggestion is to bring that into Illustrator and trace it. I know it's a crazy one to trace, but it wasn't my pick, it was yours. So we need to like make this match, so you have the same masthead. And then secondly is the type in here. We need to have, hierarchy, just like we've been talking about, the large, medium, small. Need to have kind of levels, and move type together, so it's kind of a grouping and then a hierarchy, and I've talked about both of those. We'll come to this Essence magazine, which I think is working pretty nicely. My only concerns are legibility here, and there's another solution for just having that little A. And this S and the Y hitting this this bar here is a pretty strong tangent, and so that's really kind of frowned on. Here you have tangents to the edge of the page too, so you have to watch out for that. Looking at some other Essence covers. These are grouped really, really tightly together. Notice how many colors they use on the type. 3, white, this teal, and black. And we'll look at typefaces. So these are sans serif, sans serif, sans serif, sans serif, sans serif, serif, which really has difficulty reading right here. I'd probably be careful about that. And then sans serif. And as I move over to here, it just doesn't stay together very well here. This this type I rarely find on magazines, as I just kind of thumb through it. I mean, this one is kind of like a handwritten and another handwritten, but even this one, this is a serif italic, and we're not. This is a very different kind of type. It's more of a calligraphy, and we don't see that too much. And then also this essence showing up on the side here is not. We don't see that happening. I don't see that happening in the few examples that I've kind of thumbed through here. So I'm not sure why on that decision. You may have some research that kind of backs that up with other covers. Nice picture though. I just work on the type on this. All right, let me know if you have specific questions. Let me know if you need to talk about more. I'm available during my drop-by hours or by email. Thanks, everyone.